Picture this. It's 2:13 a.m. The house is completely dark. Right now, all across America, millions of people are sitting alone at their kitchen tables, bills scattered everywhere, just staring at the glowing screen of a smartphone. They're locked in this state of isolating, quiet panic. But here's the really fascinating part. They aren't asking a human being for help. They're whispering their deepest financial fears directly to machines, typing things like, "Can I survive until payday?" or "Am I ever going to escape this debt?" And for the first time in modern history, artificial intelligence is answering back, instantly, objectively, and most importantly, without a single ounce of judgment.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're not talking about AI as some far-off sci-fi concept or, a luxury tech toy for the elite. Instead, we're exploring how AI has quietly transformed into a literal, real-world emotional survival system for the American middle class. We're going to unpack the data, the human psychology, and the technology behind how millions of people are using these digital shields to navigate just unprecedented economic pressure.
Okay, let's dive right in. Section 1, the silent financial emergency. To really understand why people are turning to AI, we have to look at the massive disconnect happening in the economy right now. If you turn on the news, the official economy looks incredibly strong, right? GDP is rising, stock markets are surging, corporate profits are climbing. But inside American homes, the reality is entirely different. According to the National Endowment for Financial Education, nearly 9 out of 10 Americans report experiencing financial stress. And this isn't just about dollars and cents, it's about profound psychological exhaustion. For decades, the American middle class relied on a pretty simple equation. You work hard, you earn stability, and you build a future. But today, millions feel like that equation is just fundamentally broken. Rent has exploded, groceries feel totally unaffordable, and even people with degrees and multiple jobs feel financially cornered. It creates this vacuum where people actually begin measuring their self-worth by their account balances, and that leaves them exhausted and deeply ashamed. $19 trillion. Just let that sink in for a second. That is what household debt in the United States is climbing toward right now. 19 trillion. And alongside this massive number, we're seeing credit card delinquencies rising dramatically, all while inflation just quietly erodes purchasing power month after month. People are drowning under the weight of these numbers. And traditional human advice, it often feels way out of reach, too expensive, or honestly, just too embarrassing to ask for. The financial buffer has basically vanished. If we break down the numbers, when faced with an unexpected $2,000 expense, a staggering 39% of people cannot comfortably cover it. They're forced to rely on credit cards or turn to buy now, pay later systems, literally just to survive the month. And when people feel this unsafe financially, they desperately seek control wherever they can find it. And right now, they're finding it in algorithms. Moving on to Section 2, the evolution of money management. So how exactly did we get here? Well, the mental exhaustion of tracking money evolved over decades. Back in the 1990s, personal finance required brutal discipline, right? Manual checkbooks, paper ledgers, spreadsheets. One math mistake meant a whole cascade of overdraft fees. Then, the 2010s brought us passive fintech. We got digital budgets, sure, but the apps were totally passive. They just sent stress-inducing alerts screaming, "You overspent," or "low balance," zero emotional support. Today, we've shifted to predictive AI. The software actually stopped merely observing human behavior and began intelligently and proactively guiding it. Which brings us to Section 3, the judgment-free algorithm. Modern finance is so incredibly complex that 41% of Americans feel completely unequipped to handle it. The crucial point here is the striking contrast between these two approaches. On one side, old fintech apps were passive and triggering. They essentially flashed red alarms that shamed you for your financial reality. On the other side, predictive AI steps in as objective and entirely shame-free. The real power of AI in this space isn't just mathematical, it's profoundly psychological. Unlike a human financial advisor or a passive app, the AI never judges. When a struggling worker types, "I only have $18 left this week," the machine doesn't sigh or roll its eyes. It responds instantly, without stigma, and calmly maps out a survival plan. That emotional safety is an absolute game changer. Let's ground this with a real human example. Take Sarah. She's a 26-year-old hospitality worker in Chicago, and her paycheck disappears almost instantly to rent and groceries. She connects her account to an AI assistant, and it creates this survival loop. First, the AI studies her. Then, when she walks near a shopping district, it objectively warns her, saying something like, "Sarah, your electric bill auto-pays in 48 hours. This purchase could overdraft your account." It's not cruel, it's just a fact.
By outsourcing this emotional vigilance, Sarah reduces her impulse spending and slowly builds a $1,000 emergency fund. To some, that sounds small, but psychologically, that $1,000 is a lifeline. It literally feels like oxygen returning to her lungs.
Let's look at Section 4. Who is relying on AI? Now, what's really interesting about these numbers is the massive adoption gap. In our hybrid economy of ride shares and side hustles, where one job simply isn't enough to survive, Gen Z is adopting AI at 77% and millennials at 72%, while boomers sit way down at just 30%. So why the massive divide? Well, it's driven by generational trauma and instability. Younger Americans grew up watching the 2008 financial crisis, student debt explosions, and pandemic chaos. They trust technology partly because traditional financial systems failed them first. Older generations still trust human advisors. Younger generations trust algorithms. And honestly, that trust is yielding real psychological relief. Neuroscientists actually compare severe financial anxiety to sleep deprivation. It absolutely destroys your focus, your memory, and your decision-making. But look at these outcomes. 80% of users report improved financial outcomes, and 81% feel more confident. Simply knowing an AI system is watching the numbers relieves them of the constant, exhausting burden of monitoring every single penny. But we have to look at the flip side. Section 5, Dangers of Algorithmic Trust. Because there is absolutely a dark side to handing over bank accounts, real-time locations, and debt patterns to machines. Trusting algorithms with your financial survival carries immense systemic risk. Economists and technologists point out a few really terrifying scenarios. First, algorithmic flash collapses. I mean, what happens if millions of AI tools react simultaneously during a financial panic, moving money in ways humans cannot control fast enough? Then there are massive privacy catastrophes and the very real risk of data misinformation guiding your life choices. But perhaps the biggest societal risk is emotional over-reliance. Despite our trust in AI, most people do not want to surrender final human veto power over their life decisions. We want a partnership, right? Not total surrender. Which brings us to Section 6, Navigating the AI Economy. We need practical, structural solutions here. Because while AI is an incredibly powerful tool for an individual, it is a band-aid. It's not a cure for deep-rooted societal issues. The way forward requires action on a few different fronts. On a personal level, we have to pair AI tools with human discipline and actively work to limit our emotional impulse spending. And we definitely have to stop viewing financial struggle as some sort of personal moral failure. But on a societal level, we have to tackle the root causes. We need to demand better financial education, advocate for structural changes like affordable housing, and absolutely implement strict AI accountability and digital privacy regulations. Technology can reduce suffering, for sure, but it cannot heal structural inequality alone. Ultimately, while we've talked a lot about algorithms and data today, the rise of financial AI is not simply a technology story. It is a profoundly human story. It's about fear, survival, and adaptation. It reveals our desperate search for stability in a really unstable age. Behind every budgeting app, every AI chatbot, and every automated savings alert, there is a real human being just trying to breathe a little easier and sleep peacefully at night. I want to leave you with this final, kind of haunting question. What happens when financial guidance is automated, but our emotional resilience disappears? It's something we all need to reflect on as we integrate these tools into our lives. Have you used AI to manage your money? Do you trust it more than traditional systems, or does this future worry you? Let's keep this conversation going. Share your experiences down in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.